All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast on MMA.I. Today, we're going to be talking about UFC 274, and then we'll talk about UFC Columbus a little bit. But we've got such a fantastic episode to talk about. And once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Silva. How's it going?
I'm doing well, man. How could you not be doing well heading into a card like this? I think this is the most stacked UFC fight card since UFC 268 back in November of last year. There's a real buzz in the air right now for UFC fans. I think we're going to see a couple showcase fights, really, because the top three fights have huge favorites in those spots. And I believe that all three of those favorites are going to really shine out there, but that doesn't mean their opponents will not put up one hell of a fight. So I'm super excited for that card. I was really excited heading into UFC Columbus, which we're going to go into right now. Curtis Blaydes himself, he was a big favorite in this spot. And the people that believed Curtis Blaydes would win, they were thinking he was going to smash Christakis on the ground with ground and pound because the guy is a fantastic wrestler. That was not the case. Curtis Blaydes used the threat of the takedown to, distract Christakis from his big power, and that's what he did. He didn't even throw with the worst of intentions, but once that right hand landed right on the button, it cursed Christakis down, and Curtis Blaydes closed the show in that second round. I'm really impressed with Curtis Blaydes. He's now mixing his wrestling and his striking better than ever. It's something that he struggled to do against Derrick Lewis, but this was more the Curtis Blaydes we saw against Junior Dos Santos, where you think he's going to shoot, but he's not, and he hits you with the big power, which I believe is underrated on the Curtis Blaydes side. And it's unfortunate for Christakis now being on a bit of a skid after he was on a hot streak to kick off his UFC run.
Yeah, that's the most effective thing for Curtis Blaydes. You think he's going to shoot? He's always doing his level changes, feinting, and that's the most dangerous for if you're his opponent, because you don't know when he's going to shoot. You don't know if he is going to shoot, and I feel like Curtis Blaydes wanted to make a statement in this one. He wanted to show that he can strike, he can stay on the feet, he can win these fights on the feet, and he did it. He beat Chris Daukaus, so I thought going into this one had the striking edge, but now I'm thinking Curtis Blaydes is getting better and better every fight, and I've always talked about how good he is. I think he's underrated in the heavyweight division, and then he calls that Stipe Miocic. Wow, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, I believe that Curtis Blaydes didn't exactly improve his spot a great deal with this, because he's always because he got knocked out by Francis and Derek. It always feels like there's going to be a roadblock to the road to the title shot for him. But personally, if you ask me, his next matchup will be Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall had just gotten a finish the week before he got the finish, so they're probably on the same timeline for a return. And Curtis Blaydes, if he wants to really get some momentum behind him, I feel like that Tom Aspinall win, especially if he gets a finish, I think that would do really good things for him in terms of fan perception, because a lot of people are touting Tom Aspinall as the future champion.
Yeah, 100%. It was a fantastic performance from Curtis Blaydes, and I wouldn't mind that one. Curtis Blaydes would definitely test Tom Aspinall's wrestling, his defense. But yeah, again, as we talked about, Curtis Blaydes, that's the most dangerous, effective thing for him. Is you think he's going to shoot, and he might just stand and trade, and that's where you might get caught off guard, and that's what happened with Chris Daukaus. But yeah, as you talk about, a shame for Chris Daukaus once being touted as being one of the top 5, top 3 in the world, and I think he's going to learn from these back-to-back defeats, and he'll come back stronger. I mean, he's faced hard competition in Derrick Lewis and Curtis Blaydes, so maybe he goes back to the drawing board, fights these top 10 guys, gets a few win, and has another attempt. But I still don't think it's over. Obviously, it's definitely not over for him. He's still very early in his career. He's such a small guy, though. I talked about the weight, the size difference. You could really see it.
In all honesty, as Curtis Blaydes said, Chris Daukaus is probably a light heavyweight. The guy, sure, he has really fast hands for heavyweight, but if you look at the guy isn't exactly looking like Jose Aldo on a scale. The guy has some fat to cut, so I believe he could go to light heavyweight. I believe he would be a ranked fighter at light heavyweight. You can't tell me he wouldn't beat Johnny Walker.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe going down to 205 pounds would be the wise decision for Chris Dorcas. But we'll move on to someone who put on another fantastic performance. That's Alexa Grasso. One way I thought it wouldn't happen. I thought if there was going to be a submission, I was leaning toward Wood. I thought Wood might get it, but Alexa Grasso is showing once again that she's a well-rounded fighter and she gets a submission win against Joanne Wood. A fantastic performance, and now surely she's putting her name up there for the title.
She surely is. This was a tough result for me in particular. I bet this fight to go to decision because you look at these two ladies; they historically go 15 minutes when they fight. So I did not expect Alexa Grasso to go out there and get her first submission victory in her entire career. I really didn't rate her submission offense that highly, even though she did, get Carla Esparza in a tight armbar. I really wasn't confident she would be able to finish Wood, but she really proved herself to me down on the ground in that fight. I think we're seeing a bit of a decline in Wood's abilities. She's already said that she's not far from retirement, so I don't believe that same fire and desire is there for Wood. But on the other hand, it's definitely there for Grasso, and I believe she's one fight away from a title shot, if you ask me. The winner,
Yeah, I've got to agree.
Yeah, the winner of Andrea Lee versus Viviana Araujo. I think that's the fight.
Yeah, 100%. I've got to agree. It was a statement win for Alexa Grasso, and to get it done by submission. That really shocked me a little bit because I thought if it's submission I thought about, it was going to go Wood, and she proved that she's a well-rounded fighter, involving, and I think she's a real problem at 125 pounds.
100%. I would love to see her fight Valentina one day. I don't know if Valentina would just run her over like she has some other opponents. And we'll move on to the fight of the night. Maybe a fight of the year contender when it's all said and done. Bryan Barberena got the win over Matt Brown via split decision. When I saw that this was a split decision, it was in Matt Brown's hometown of Columbus, Ohio. I was thinking he was going to get that hometown nod, but I felt like the judges really paid attention to the fight, and they gave it to the right guy, Bryan Barberena. Matt Brown fought his heart and soul out there, just like Bryan. He definitely won that first round. That second round, he did get tagged, and that was something I mentioned previously, that if I had not really dug deep into my analysis of this fight, I would have probably just said Bryan Barberena knocks him out, but it's not that simple. And he did hurt Matt Brown multiple times, and that was what swayed the judges. Sure, Matt Brown got a ton of takedowns, but he did absolutely nothing on top. It was just control time. So Bryan Barberena was the guy doing more damage. Before like the last 30 seconds of the last round, I actually was giving that third round of Matt Brown, but the guy was absolutely gassed. The guy gave it all in there, so he really had no energy to defend himself, and Bryan Barberena tagged him, and that made me give the round to Bryan. So I feel like Matt Brown's gas tank was the determining factor in Bryan Barberena getting this win. But nonetheless, I was really satisfied to see Bryan Barberena be in better form, because I feel like in the Jason Witt fight he was not in this form.
Yeah, it's always good. But when we saw this fight on paper, it was we knew it was going to be a good fight. You had that inkling that this is going to produce. It's going to be a banger. Every fight with Bryan Barberena in it, you know you're going to get entertainment. And once again, he showed it. He always comes to fight. He always brings the entertainment. And this guy, man, it's phenomenal. He threw 186 strikes, almost 100 more than Matt Brown. He's his volume. He's just relentless. A fantastic fighter. Matt Brown, you got to give credit to him. At his age, if I'm correct, maybe 41. If I'm correct, he's old, and he hanged in there. He proved he can still fight, and it's phenomenal what he can do at his age. It's seeing the veterans, hanging in there, still doing well. It's always a good sight. And Matt Brown is not slowing down though, but except from his cardio, that's the only issue. But man, it was a fantastic fight, and credit to Barbara Barberena and Matt Brown. They put on an absolute showstopper. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, usually guys of that age, when they get tagged, the fight, it's usually over. But Matt Brown is a straight up warrior, as his nickname calls him. He is immortal, man. I love that guy. a great fight from those two. And another great fight on this card was KaraFrance's win over Askar. Askarov was unbeaten heading into this. In my opinion, he did lose his UFC debut against Brandon Moreno. That was a ruled a draw, but I thought Brandon won that fight. Nonetheless, KaraFrance is in the best form of his career. It's very obvious because back then he would struggle with these high level grapplers like Askarov, but I feel he's leveled up in terms of pacing himself, in terms of takedown defense, and he's more confident than ever. He just knocked out the former bantamweight champion in the last fight. So he went in there against Askarov, and he had a very tough first round. He could have scored it at 10-8. He got his back taken. I thought Askarov might have been able to choke him out right then and there, but he stayed calm in that second round. Once Askarov started getting some takedowns stuffed, goodness gracious, he started getting punished big time and rocked many times. And Askarov never really found his groove after that. In that third round, sure, he got another takedown, but didn't really do anything with it. I saw some people thinking Askarov won the fight. I don't know what they were watching. KaraFrance was the guy doing all the damage in that third round, and he won a decisive decision, in my opinion. And now this puts him in a spot where he might be fighting for the belt next because Davison doesn't want to fight Brandon the fourth time. So he might have just earned himself a title shot with this one. If you were to ask me, I thought this should have been the real main event because these guys did go to decision. I thought it would have been really cool to see it as a 5-round fight. Curtis Blaydes versus Chris Dawkins probably wasn't going to go past 3 rounds.
I mean, it's a number one contender fight. I don't know how you don't put that as main event. So,
yeah. And it ended up being a much better fight than a heavyweight fight, obviously. So, yeah, good stuff from KaraFrance. I feel like back then, if you had asked me like 2 years ago if is he going to be a champion, I would have kind of laughed in your face, honestly. He was getting submitted by Brandon Royval, but the guy is obviously leveled up. He fought Roger Bontorin, survived the worst position possible, and then knocks him out. Knocks out former champion Cody Garbrandt, and now he knocks out a Dagestani wrestler, undefeated. Come on, this guy is on the next level now. I think
that fight against Roger Bontorin is the best fight for him that could happen in his career because I think it just gave him another level of confidence because, as you talked about, he survived the worst position possible for like 4 minutes straight. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, KaraFrance, his trajectory is definitely going up. After this, we'll move on to Neil Magny's split decision win over Max Griffin. Our most confident pick on this entire card was Neil Magny by decision. I really gave Max Griffin a very low chance of winning this. Boy, was I wrong. Max Griffin may be 37, but the guy's in his prime right now. The guy has never been more confident in his punching power. And in the first round, he sits down Neil Magny, who historically is pretty durable. But this was a classic Neil Magny fight. After having a slow start, he will win rounds 2 and 3. Did he win round 2? I don't know. Maybe I gave Neil Magny that round because I was picking him. I'll just say that. That was a super close round. Both guys were tagged. And Neil Magny was turning it up at the end of the second round because Max Griffin was slowing down. And we saw in that third round, Neil Magny dominated that round. You could have given him a 10-8. So that was the most decisive round of the entire fight, that third round for Neil Magny. So, yeah, Neil Magny, he had a classic performance here, but it was nowhere near as easy as I thought it would be.
100%. I've got to agree. Max Griffin was, let's just say, no one really gave him a chance in this fight. They thought Neil Magny was going to control him, beat him. I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but I think Neil Magny might have been, the biggest favorite on the card. So,
yeah, it was actually Curtis Blaydes, I believe.
Well, he must have been a huge favorite because, I mean, if you look at the level of competition that they fought before this fight, it was a lot. It was big. So, and Max Griffin went in there and just fought his heart out. He's phenomenal. He's been on the show, and he's such a fantastic fighter. And that knockdown in round 1, I was thinking, oh my God, we're in for a treat here. And then round 2, round 3, Neil Magny does what he does best. He makes it into a dogfight. He dragged it into the deep waters. But Max Griffin, credit to him. Yeah, I didn't give him a chance in this fight, and he proved in there, he can hang with the best fighters in the world. And I feel like after this fight, his stock has gone up again. And I feel like they're going to go in there, give him maybe another top 15 fight. I think he deserves it.
Yeah, I really believe that Max Griffin overperformed in this spot. The guy has not proved that he can hang with top 15 guys. And he just hung with a top 10 guy and arguably beat him. It was so convincing that the UFC brass gave him his win bonus. That's how much the UFC brass thinks of him, despite the fact that he lost. So really impressive by both guys, honestly, in that fight. And we'll move on to a fight that was not so exciting because it was straight up dominance. We saw Mark Chikisi out-wrestle Vyacheslav Borschev for 15 minutes, pretty much. Anytime they were striking, Borschev was throwing big hooks, hoping to land a big bomb, but Chikisi had a huge wrestling edge here. My read on this fight was way off. I'll admit it. I thought we were going to see a striking match here. Chikisi is traditionally a striker, but he has taken guys down in the past. Borschev, he did well with his defensive wrestling against guys like lower level guys. So I thought he might have been able to defend himself well here, but that was not the case. Chikisi has very underrated wrestling, and he showed it out there. That's basically the story of the fight. Borschev, unable to defend those takedowns, unable to get up, and eventually got tired.
Yeah, who knew an Englishman could out-wrestle a Russian?
Yeah.
Hey, it happened. It happened. I witnessed it. You witnessed it. It was phenomenal to watch. Mark DKZ did what he had to do, basically. He did what he had to do to win the fight. I feel like we've seen, an evolution, as I was talking about earlier with I can't remember the top of my head. I feel like we're seeing the evolution of a fight IQ for Mark DKZ in these 2 years. He took some heavy losses, and I feel like them heavy losses are big for him in the future because as he implemented the wrestling because he just knew that's where he was better. So it was smart. It was a wise decision. He got the job done. Was it exciting? No. But has he kept his job? Has he's in the win column again? Yeah. So he did what he had to do to win, and credit to him. I don't know what's next for him though, but I'm a little bit unsure. But I know when he fights, it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, I feel like Ludwig Klein should be next for Mark Chikasi. That'd be two strikers. I'd love to see that next. Now we'll go to the prelims. We'll keep it fairly brief on the prelims. We got a really good card to get to. Sarah McMahon beat Carol Hossa, who was on a rise. She used her superior wrestling to get it done in the first and second round, and her conditioning has improved significantly, in my opinion. So that was the determining factor. She looked better than she has in a long time and beat the surging Carol Hossa. Then we had maybe knockout of the year. Chris Gutierrez knocked out Dana Bakary in the second round, spinning back fist. Unbelievable. This is going to be a highlight for the ages. Chris Gutierrez is now on a 7-fight unbeaten streak. The guy's on a crazy run. Dana Bakary had never been knocked out before this. So that was a huge statement of victory. Just tell me your thoughts on that crazy KO from Gutierrez.
I mean, it was phenomenal. Spinning back fist there, absolutely knocked him out. I thought Chris Gutierrez was going to win, but I didn't think it'd be in that fashion. It was Dana Bakary was a fantastic prospect coming up, and I just felt like Chris Gutierrez was going to have his number, and what a way to finish the fight as well. What did you say? He's 7-0 in the UFC.
He's on a 7-fight unbeaten streak. One draw in the mix.
Yeah, there we go. I can't remember off the top of my head who that draw was against.
Cody Dern.
Cody Dern, yeah. So he's very underrated. Hasn't lost inside the UFC.
Dern got a 10-8 first round, but he didn't really do any damage. So I thought you could have given it to Chris. But nonetheless, he's on a great run here, and I feel like he's one fight away from getting a ranked opponent. This is a Shark Tank, this bantamweight division. 7-fight unbeaten streak, still not ranked opponent, in my opinion. That's just a testament to the division. And we'll move on to Aliashab Kriziev's win over Denis Tululin. My goodness, this guy, not only does he have really good wrestling, his kickboxing really jumped off the page for me here in this fight. He did get tagged a couple times. Got to work on that head movement, but he's not even in his real division yet. This was a middleweight fight. The guys are actually a welterweight, and he said he wants to go down. So I think at welterweight he has huge success. I think he'll be a ranked guy within the next year at 170 pounds. And that was a really impressive second round submission. Choked out Dennis cold. And we'll move on to Jennifer Maia's loss to Manon Fiorot. This was so impressive. Manon Fiorot always has really good output, loves to use her kicks. And in this fight, she showed her grappling and wrestling skills. If you'd have told me Jennifer Maia would be the one tagging Manon Fiorot with head kicks and Manon Fiorot taking her down, I would have called you crazy. I would have said you would got their names mixed up. But that was the case here. Maia landed some heavy head kicks, and Manon Fiorot was landing really good takedowns. And I had questions about Manon's submission defense. I picked her to get submitted in her previous fight, and Jennifer Maia had nothing for her off of her back. So I'm very confident in Manon's defensive grappling and offensive grappling after this. I believe she would get a somewhat competitive fight to Valentina at this stage.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. As you talk about, she's showing her a wide verse of mixed martial arts as she mixed up her wrestling in this one. And we know how good her kickboxing is and her boxing. As you talked about, she'd probably give a good fight to Valentina Shevchenko. I don't think she's ready just yet, but I feel like it'd be competitive now. But I feel like in a few fights, I feel like she could be a problem.
100%. And we'll move on to a fairly uneventful fight. Matheus Nicolau beat David Dvorak. The first 4 minutes or 3 minutes of this fight were painful to watch. They were unbelievably inactive, respecting the other a lot. I acknowledge in this fight that these flyweights, they're not super durable, and both of them can crack, and that's what happened here. Nicolau kept on cracking Dvorak in every round. In that second round, he knocked him down. I thought he was about to knock him out. Nicolau was the more powerful fighter here, and if he let his hands go more, he would have gotten the knockout, if you ask me. Dvorak was on a 16-fight win streak, and it got snapped here against Nicolau. I think Nicolau is ready for definitely a step up. He's 3-0 ever since he returned to the UFC. I really like what he's been doing ever since he returned. And we'll move on to Luis Saldana's unanimous decision victory over Bruno Souza. This was a very competitive fight. Bruno Souza, he didn't fight like he usually does. I thought he would just sit back and be, low output, just avoid getting knocked out. That was not the case here. He walked forward and was super aggressive, but he still was a little behind Luis Saldana. Luis Saldana gave him a really good fight here, and he had a power edge here. That was a big factor in this fight. And in the end, he got the win, and you could have given it to either guy, in my opinion, but Luis Saldana looking really good out there, and it was good to see him look good in that third round, because when he fought Austin Lingo, he gassed after that first round. So, yeah, that was a really great way to start what became a really fun card to watch. Once again, I've said this before, seeing UFC fight nights in front of fans, it's just much better, man. The whole energy surrounding the fights, it's way better, and that's going to be the case this Saturday. We got fights back in front of fans, emanating from the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, UFC 273. It is headlined by the champion Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. This is going to be a really good card, man. I say we get right into the main event. The main event is for the Featherweight Championship. I say you start, Lenny. Give us your pick for this Featherweight title fight.
Such a fantastic fight. Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. The Korean Zombie coming off a win against Dan Ige, and then Volkanovski coming off a win against Brian Ortega. Alexander Volkanovski is so underrated. I feel he's so underrated, so underappreciated. I mean, he's defended his belt against Max Holloway. He defended the belt against Brian Ortega. He's undefeated in the UFC. He's won 20 fights back to back. It's phenomenal who he's beat. He's beat Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo. He's got such a great resume, and he's only just started. He's only just begun, and it's phenomenal. He's beat Max Holloway twice. You could argue it could have went the other way, but he's beat him. It's on there, and then he's beat Brian Ortega. and now he's got Korean Zombie in his way, I'm watching Embedded, and Volkanovski's been saying that he's always wanted to fight the Korean Zombie. He's a legend. He's always manifested it, and now it's time, it's opportunity. And I know Korean Zombie's no slouch, but I just think Volkanovski, I think he's on another level. The way he mixes it up, his striking and his wrestling is superb. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. I think that's one of his best weapons, is wrestling, being able to mix up, shoot. I mean, I just don't see the Korean Zombie winning this fight. I think Alexander Volkanovski is just going to be a different animal. His wrestling, he can implement it at any time, and I know Korean Zombie knows that if he gets taken down. But the Korean Zombie is fantastic on submission. He's good off his back. He's got that threat. We've seen it in the past. The twister. We've seen a lot of submission. Didn't he choke out Dustin Poirier back in the past as well? So he's a threat on the ground. But I just think Volkanovski is just a different animal. I think he's going to make it not look easy, but I think it's going to be comfortable.
Yeah, Volkanovski is a huge favorite in this spot. He's a minus 750 favorite. And I don't exactly agree with that. I feel he's more of a minus 450 favorite. Volkanovski is a master of the fundamentals. The guy can fight wherever the fight goes, man. The guy fights to his opponent's weaknesses. He'll create the openings and he'll capitalize on them. Volkanovski is a very well-rounded fighter, and in my opinion, he's top 3 in the UFC right now. The guy does not get the love he should, because when you beat Max Holloway twice after beating Jose Aldo, that is madness. And he's about to add another legend to his resume here. I feel he's going to get a unanimous decision victory against Chan Sung Jung. The Korean Zombie is very hittable. It's no secret. All you have to do is watching, many of his wars. He's trying to change that, but when he fought Dan Ige, even in that fight, he was getting cracked a couple times. That fight was very uncharacteristic of Korean Zombie because he went out there and started using his wrestling, and he got a lot of control time. I don't think he can do that to Volkanovski here. Volkanovski is a shorter guy, very low base. It's gonna be hard to get him down. In fact, I think Volkanovski will be the one doing the wrestling here. Chan Sung Jung, sure, he got the twister, but I wouldn't say he's the greatest grappler in the featherweight division. I think Chan Sung Jung will be stuck on bottom for a round or two in this fight, and Volkanovski has vicious ground and pound. And on the feet, sure, Chan Sung Jung has a puncher's chance, but we've seen Volkanovski get hurt by Chad Mendes, hurt by Max Holloway. The guy recovers very well. So even if Chan Sung Jung finds a knockdown here, I think Volkanovski can survive. The guy has no quit in him. That Brian Ortega fight, stuck in the tightest guillotine possible. The guy refuses to quit. You're gonna have to kill him in there. So Volkanovski, I think he's got the edge everywhere in this fight. The only edge I give to Chan Sung Jung is power, but I think Volkanovski is a much more defensively responsible fighter than the Dennis Bermudez's, the Frankie Eggers. I think he's better defensively, and he's got the better gas tank. That's without a doubt. So I say Volkanovski pretty much dominates this fight. He might lose a round if he gets tagged, but besides that, I see Volkanovski just taking the fight where he wants to and avoiding the big power from the Zombie. And this is going to be another legend on his resume, and people are going to start respecting him more after this one.
I've got to agree. I think Volkanovski is very underappreciated, as you were saying, and I feel like this one we're gonna realize how good he is once again. I mean, Chan Sung Jung, they've been respectful throughout the whole process, but I feel like he's going to be outmatched here against Volkanovski, and I can't wait for it. It's such a fantastic main event, and the co-main event as well. Woo, that gets even better.
Wow. There's so many storylines surrounding this co-main event for the Bantamweight Championship. This fight has been, has been in the talks for 2 years now. These guys have been talking back and forth for 2 years. In June of 2020, the UFC, had to deal with the fact that the Bantamweight title was vacant. So they go and they book Petr Yan against Jose Aldo, and they book Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. And I really feel like they should have booked Sterling versus Jan for the belt. I felt like that was the real title fight. But in the end, they end up doing Sterling versus Sandhagen. Sterling steamrolls Sandhagen, chokes him unconscious. We've seen Sandhagen go 25 competitive minutes with Jan, 25 competitive minutes with TJ Dillashaw. Aljamain Sterling takes him out of there in less than 2 minutes. That's how dangerous this guy's grappling is. And Petr Yan, on the other hand, he fights Jose Aldo. Doesn't start all that great, but he eventually breaks Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo is one of the top 5 best fighters of all time. And he goes out there and smashes them to bits. One of the most vicious beatings we've ever seen in the octagon. The guy's an absolute monster. I think he'll be the best bantamweight of all time when it's all said and done. He's the best boxer in the UFC. I don't care what Max Holloway or Connor has to say. He's the best boxer in the UFC. The guy has ridiculous Muay Thai and incredible, really good wrestling, offensive wrestling. Took down Sandhagen, took down Sterling 7 times when they fought. This guy is a threat everywhere. He's got vicious power. I think he hits harder than anybody in this weight class. That's what really stands out about the guy. And he can give up rounds. He can even have low output. He's just so confident he's going to do more damage. The guy's a Terminator. I think he's going to terminate Sterling like he was in the process of doing last year. Let me talk about that fight. Sterling, he was doing really well in that first round. He was fighting at a frantic pace. He was giving Jan no room to breathe. Lands a big knee, rocks Jan. But Jan knocks it down with a big old right hand, and that gave the round to Jan, in my opinion. In the second round, that was a very close round. In fact, Sterling outstruck him, got a lot of control time against the fence, but it was clear that he was getting tired. And once that third round came around, he started getting a vicious beating put on him. Sterling just got several takedowns stuffed, over 10 takedowns stuffed. So when your path to victory is to take guys down and submit them, and you can't do it, you have to strike with them. And Sterling, he does not have a puncher's chance. Jimmy Vera fought him. Jimmy said he does not hit hard at all. The only punch that hurt him was a spinning back fist, but he mainly uses his kicks. And if you've ever boxed versus kick, you ever boxed or kickbox, kicking takes a lot more energy. Sterling, he's fought at a crazy pace for 15 minutes before, but when it gets to that 25-minute mark, we've only seen him tire. I don't care that his weight cut and rehydration went poorly. I don't care about that. Those are just excuses. What I see is that Sterling will tire, and Jan only gets better as the fight goes. I thinking Petr Yan will have Sterling once again on his knees, but instead of illegally kneeing him, I think he's just going to land big old punches and legal strikes, and he'll find the ground and pound finish in the 5th round. Can you just tell me what you made of that first meeting back in March of 2021?
I think the first meeting gives me all what I need to know for the second meeting. I think Petr Yan is just a better fighter all around. I think the only department where Sterling has a chance is the wrestling, but I still think Petr Yan is the better grappler. Petr Yan is phenomenal. He's so good everywhere, and obviously he's boxing. It's sharp, it's crisp, it's just beautiful to watch, and that's where he does his best work. Mixing it all up, with the knees and the kicks and the elbows. He's just so good. He's when you're watching it, it's like poetry in motion. Everything he does is just perfect. Never puts a foot wrong. But the only chance that I give Sterling is early, because when Jan fights, he takes the first few rounds off because he's reading you. He's trying to set traps. Know what you're trying to do, so he can counter you, or etc. That's the only place or the only chance I give Sterling. If he comes out sharp, early, quick, look for that takedown, submit him like what he done to Corey Sandhagen. But do I see that happen? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think Sterling goes in there and gets him down, submits him in the first round or the second round. I think Petr Yan is too good. I think it's going to really show. I think Sterling did the best thing of taking a knee and acting, or whatever happened there, of getting that belt, because he's got himself a shot of kind of redemption, because he wants to put it right. He wants to show he's the best fighter, and I think Petr Yan is just he's too good. He's way too good. I just don't see Sterling winning this fight, and we haven't since the last fight. We haven't seen him fight before, because He's been around. He's been out with his surgeries, and we just don't know what sort of evolution or what he's been doing while he was gone.
Yeah, not only has Sterling been out for a year, the guy had a major neck surgery. You don't think that would affect his performance here? And not only that, Jan, he takes the first couple rounds off to make his reads. He already made his reads. He already made his reads against Sterling. This is actually the second rematch Jan has had in his career. He fought, who was it?
Magomed. I forgot his name.
Magomedov, I believe he fought. He that is actually his first loss of his career. Want to know why he lost that fight? It was a headbutt. It was a headbutt. So Jan has always played with the rules a little bit, and it cost him there. He got a point deducted. That cost him the fight. So when they fought again, he goes out there and decisively wins the fight. Jan is the real deal, man. I think Jan will sit atop the bantamweight throne for a long time. I keep on having to remind myself that Sterling is a champion because let's be honest, he's a paper champion at this point. Only fighting in UFC history to win the belt via disqualification. But one thing I have to point out here, if any casual fans are listening, do not judge Sterling on purely that last fight because the guy was an absolute beast before that. Beat Pedro Munoz, beat Renan Barão, beat a lot of guys you would know.
Corey Sandhagen. Wow.
Jimmy Rivera, by the way, outstruck Petr Yan. He was doing well in every round, but it just so happened that he got knocked down or hurt in every round. So Sterling is a really good striker, really great grappler, but it just isn't enough to beat Petr Yan. I honestly don't even know who's beating Petr Yan at this point. I say Umar Nurmagomedov will have the best chance in like 5 years. That's pretty much it in my opinion. So yeah, the pick is Petr Yan, 5th round TKO. That's my pick. What's your official pick?
Yeah, I'm going Petr Yan. I think it's going to be late as well. I'm going to go for 3rd round, 4th round TKO.
Okay, and we'll move on to Gilbert Burns' return against Hamzat the Boris Chimaev. This is the real main event, if I'm being honest. This is the fight that has really gained my attention throughout the whole fight week. Hamza is such a character, man. This guy is a phenom. Let me just take you through his UFC career, which has been very short. If very eventful, I would say, in those 4 fights. His first fight, he's a minus 800 favorite against John Phillips. Steamrolls him. Second round, Darce choke. Looks incredible out there. And coming into that fight, we heard Ilir Latifi and Alexander Gustafsson say that this guy was getting the better of them in practice. Ilir Latifi and Gustafsson were established light heavyweights. They were contenders at light heavyweight. Gustafsson fought for several belts, and now he's at heavyweight. Both guys are heavyweights now, and Hamzat is fighting at welterweight. So Hamzat is fighting a former lightweight. So I'll just tell you right now that Hamzat is obviously the bigger guy. He will be the bigger, stronger guy in this fight. So that right there is a huge advantage in this fight. But let me return to the Hamzat career. So 10 days after that fight, he fights Reese McKee, who's a really good prospect at the time. He steamrolls him, TKO in the first round. And then he fought Gerald Mearshart like 2 months after that. 1-punch KO, 17 seconds. Gustafsson says that not only does he not get tired, he hits like a heavyweight. This is a welterweight. He's like a heavyweight. And there's nothing that tells me he doesn't hit like a heavyweight. He's knocked guys out with uppercuts. He knocked out Gerald, who was historically durable, with 1 punch. I think this guy, not only is he a fantastic Swedish wrestler, guy hits like a truck. And Gilbert has gotten knocked out by a featherweight in Dan Hooker at lightweight. So I don't know, man. I don't know if Gilbert can take those punches. And also, Gilbert has fought Russian wrestlers before, and he's gotten dominated and been unable to present anything off of his back. And that was Gilbert when he was a little fresher, off his BJJ competition. He's beaten Rafael Lobato Jr., former Bellator champion, at 205 pounds before. guy was a BJJ champion. I don't think it's enough to submit Hamza here. Sure, I had my doubts, but when you hear countless UFC fighters, countless legends say they've seen him in the training room, and this guy will be a future champion, I'm not gonna say no to guys like Dern Till, Michael Bisping, Chael Sonnen, Alexander Gustafsson. I'm not gonna call those guys liars because there's nothing that's told me that the hype isn't real. Gilbert Burns in his last fight, he took down Wonderboy many times, held him down there. A lot of people are pointing to that fight, saying that he can submit Wonderboy, he won't submit Hamza. That was a different situation. Gilbert did not attempt a single submission in that fight. All he wanted to do was control Wonderboy. He didn't want to risk Wonderboy getting on his feet and knocking him out. So that was a situation there. Before that, he fights Kamaru Usman. He knocks down Kamaru Usman. He makes Kamaru Usman touch the floor. But after that, he just tired out. And everybody is saying Hamza does not get tired. So the cardio advantage is on the Hamza side too. So when I see him as a huge favorite like this, there's nothing that's telling me that he doesn't deserve to be in that spot. Sean Anik cannot contractually pick a fighter to win. And he said all week that Chimaev deserves to be this big a favorite. I have a lot of confidence in Chimaev's future. I say he gets a second round TKO on this spot. It's very hard to pick Gilbert in this spot. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really. I mean, as you were talking about, the only way I can see Gilbert winning this fight is the grappling. And as you were talking about, he has been active for years. As you were talking about beating Rafael Lovato Jr. at 205 pounds. Lovato Jr. is a fantastic practitioner of his own, and Gilbert Burns beat him. And that's the only way I see him winning this fight is being able to submit Chimaev. But do I see that happening? Absolutely not. If that happens, when we're living in a total universal world where something fantasy, I just don't see Burns submitting Chimaev. I mean, he has quite heavy hands, as you're talking about. He knocked down Kamaru Usman. He knocked out a few people with the Chimaev, as you were talking about. He's like an absolute truck. This guy's a marauder. He's a smasher. He's gonna smash Gilbert Burns, and I feel like we're gonna have like quite a rude awakening because I feel like I think everyone's gonna realize Chimaev is the real deal once again.
Yeah, Chimaev was a multi-time gold medalist in Swedish wrestling. That's
and he's a white belt, by the way. He's a white belt.
Yeah, that too. So that might be a little bit of concern now that you mention it. But Chimaev's coaches actually grappled with Gilbert Burns and beat him. So I'm sure he can give him a tip or two there. Chimaev, not only the cardio, the power, but people always say he's the strongest guy they've ever been in there with. So I feel like he can neutralize Gilbert. I expect him to strike a little with Gilbert, maybe knock him out in that first round. But if he can't knock him out, I see him getting a takedown and surviving a submission attempt or two and just landing vicious ground and pound, tiring Gilbert out a little bit. And in that second round, I see him getting another takedown and then just smashing him there. I don't think I'll submit Gilbert in this spot. Gilbert he's got a very short neck, so I'll just say that. So Chimaev, second round TKO is my pick. The hype is real. I see Chimaev being a two-weight champion before the end of 2024. I think if he just gets a little more development, I think he beats Kamaru Usman. And right now, I think he beats Israel Adesanya because I'll be real. Robert Whitaker, I love the guy. Not exactly a caliber wrestler like a Chimaev. And Yoel Romero did not really wrestle him. Scared to get tired. Chimaev's not scared to get tired. So I think Chimaev can definitely beat those two champions. That's how highly I think of the guy. And now we'll move on to Mackenzie Dern versus Tecia Torres at strawweight. Mackenzie Dern is the favorite here, and I disagree. Tecia Torres is the better wrestler in this fight. She's defended takedowns from Brianna Van Buren in the past, which is a much better wrestler than Mackenzie Dern. Torres has offensively used wrestling before, and in the Angela Hill fight, a lot of people thought her path to victory was taking her down. That was not the case. She stood with her and had the much quicker hands. Looked great out there. She's looked better than ever, and she was actually on a big skid at one point, but now She's gotten her confidence back up, and I really think she's gonna perform well in this fight. Mackenzie, obviously, the best BJJ fighter uh, to ever compete in a female division. When it goes to the ground, 9 times out of 10, it will be over. She will get your arm, she will get your neck, whatever she wants. But when she fought Marina Rodriguez in that second round, she got a takedown, and Marina Rodriguez was able to defend everything. That's the concern here if you're picking Dern, because everybody's talking that she has the submission ability, like Ngannou has the punching power. If you're a good enough defensive grappler, you can hang in there for a little bit. And I believe Taurus is good enough to hang in there, even if she gets taken out. But I predict no takedowns on the Dern side. And when we see her purely strike, it's not pretty, let's be real. And Taurus has really quick hands here, man. I see Taurus beating her up on the feet. And I don't think she'll have the same, hesitancy that Marina Rodriguez had, because Marina always struggled with grapplers, she'll be hesitant because she doesn't want to be taken out. I think Taurus will have more confidence in her takedown defense. I think she's going to let those hands fly and get a unanimous decision victory in this spot. Do you agree?
I've got to agree. That was my pick. My pick was Tisha Torres. If you look at Tisha Torres' losses, Rose Namajunas, Jessica Andrade, John and Jacek, Weili Zhang, Marina Rodriguez. I mean, that's literally death row. Honestly, she's been put through it all inside the UFC. And as you talked about, she bounced back with three wins on the trot. And then the last one against Angela Hill, she got that one over Angela Hill. I think that's 2-0 now, I believe, against Angela Hill.
Sam Hughes as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So Mackenzie Dern is, as you talked about, she's a great BJ practitioner, but when it comes to striking, she's a little bit clueless. I'm going to be honest. She's a little bit clueless, but the best case scenario for her is having Jason Perillo in her corner, because Jason Perillo is a fantastic boxing coach. He knows what he's doing with the hands. He turned Bisping around. I know he's helped Luke Rockhold a little bit. So I mean, that's a fantastic coach to have in the corner. Marlon Vera as well, yeah, exactly. But is it going to be enough to be able to sway this fight and she gets the right side of Tisha Torres? I don't think so. I think Tisha Torres is going to get the right side of her once again. The only advantage that Mackenzie Dern has is the size. She's 5'4", she's 3 inches taller than Tisha Torres. I know she's small, but that's the only thing is the size and the grappling. But I just don't see, as you talked about, I don't see Dern being able to get Tisha Torres to the ground. I think Tisha Torres will be able to keep this one on the feet, and that's where she can do her best work, get inside and land them punches. I'm going to go decision. I'm going to Tisha Torres.
Yeah, Tisha Torres, she may be short, but she carries a fair amount of muscle. She's actually been doing bodybuilding competitions in her spare time. So she definitely, in my opinion, I think she might have a strength advantage in this fight. So I think this is a really good fight for Tisha Torres, and people are really disrespecting her heading into this fight. They just think Mackenzie gets a quick armbar here or whatever. I don't see it happening, man. I see Torres getting that decision victory. And we'll move on to the main card opener. This was originally going to be Dricus du Plessis versus Kelvin Gastelum or Nasruddin Imavov. A lot of craziness happening with this card. It got reshuffled. But I think this is a great fight to kick off the main card. Vince from Hell Pichel versus Marco Madsen. Marco Madsen is one of the best wrestlers to ever compete in the UFC. Olympic silver medalist. And in his last fight, he did not go for a single takedown against Clay Guida. And I thought Clay Guida was going to give him maybe some problems, and he sure did. Because when you're purely striking with Clay Guida, and you're as inexperienced as Marco Madsen, that was a very close fight. You could have given it to either guy, but Marco Manson has the quicker output. He's got a solid jab on his side. He's not going to throw anything really crazy at you. He's only focusing on the basics, and that's good because he's not going to overextend and get himself knocked out. So Marco Manson, he saw that he went for 8 takedowns against Austin Hubbard, and he got very tired, and he lost that 3rd round. So Marco Manson is now respecting his opponents more, pacing himself better, using the third takedown more. I think he'll do it against Vince Pichel. Vince Pichel is 37, but he's looking really good out there. He's only lost 1 fight in the last in his last 10. He's on a
Gregor
really good
Gillespie, yeah.
Yeah, Gregor Gillespie. He's on a really good run. In his last fight, he fought a common opponent of Manson, Austin Hubbard, and he got taken down 4 times. He got taken down 4 times. So if you're getting taken down 4 times by Austin Hubbard, you can't tell me that Marco Manson can't take you down more than 4 times. Marco Manson will get takedowns constantly in this fight. He's got over a 50% takedown, accuracy, and Vince Pichel, his takedown defense is at 25%. So only 1 out of 4 takedowns can he defend. So Madsen, I feel, will get these takedowns in rounds 1 and 2 quite easily. I think he'll get the control time. He might have to, take him down again after Pichel gets up, but I think he'll win the first 2 really convincingly. But I think Pichel will give him hell in that 3rd round. I think he's going to get tagged bad in that 3rd round. But Manson's never been knocked out. I think he'll somehow survive. But yikes, that 3rd round, he might get knocked out. But I say he survives it, and we see a decision win for Marco Manson in this spot.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I think Marco Madsen is just a different animal. As you talked about, Vince Michelle getting taken down by Austin Hubbard 4 times. And if you get, obviously no disrespect to Austin Hubbard, if you get taken down by Austin Hubbard 4 times, just think about what Marco Madsen's going to do. As you talked about, Olympic silver medalist, Olympic silver medalist. This guy is a different animal when it comes to wrestling on the mat. And I think Vince Michelle is going to realize that at least about a minute in. I think in a minute in, he's going to be on his back. And I think Marco Manson is going to be landing them big punches. But I just don't see him. I don't see Marco Manson finishing the fight. A lot of decisions on his record, and I just don't see that happening. I'm going to go with Marco Manson. I think it's going to be a decision. I think it's going to be very, very dominant.
Yeah, he's also coming out of that fight ready gym, which is developing into a super camp. Of course, Henry
Wow.
Cejudo,
Yeah.
Korean Zombie, John Jones, Yuri Prohaska. Those guys are great at game planning. So I'm sure they realize that Madsen should not overexert himself or else he'll get in very tough spots in that fight. So I think Madsen will fight smart and get that win. We'll move on to the prelim headliner, Ian the Future Gary versus Darian Weeks. This is a very exciting fight. This is a solid test for Ian Gary. In his first fight in the UFC, he fought Jordan Williams. He was losing that round, but little did we know he was making his reads. Lands a perfect counter left hook and puts away Jordan Williams. Jordan Williams is a stud, man. He had a war with Nasruddin Imavov, who was a 2-1 favorite against Calvin Gastelum on this card, by the way. He fought Gregory Rodriguez, knocks him out in the first round in Contender Series. And Gary takes him out in the first round. Gary has very legit skills, man. He's a really good kickboxer. He's got really solid power, and he's a decent grappler. So I understand why some people are really liking this guy as a prospect. I don't exactly see him being, a guy that'll be in the title mix anytime soon. He is very young, but I don't really see him being as successful as some people do. Against Darian Weeks started out as a wrestler, and he went and became an amateur mixed martial artist. He had over 15 fights as an amateur. So I always like to see that, a guy always refining his skill set before he becomes a professional. And he goes, 5-1. No, he goes 5-0 in his pro fights, all finishes. And then he gets called up to the Contender Series, and he has to pull out of the fight. So eventually he gets called on to fight Brian Barberena. Brian Barberena just went to a war with Matt Brown, which he won. He went to war with Vicente Luque, a top 5 guy at the moment, and he fights Darian Weeks. That's a close fight. I actually gave the first round to Darian Weeks, but the last 2 rounds went to Brian Barberena. That was a short notice fight for Weeks. So Weeks, obviously didn't have any time to study. Barberena did not have time to do his strength and conditioning like he should. So maybe that's not the best judgment of him, but nonetheless, the big danger here with Weeks for Gary, in my opinion, is the wrestling and the boxing. But let's be real. Not only is Gary a better striker, I think as an overall grappler, he's a better grappler. and he's gotten submissions before. So I think not only can he catch Weeks with a submission, he could knock him out and hurt him here, but Weeks has never been knocked out. He's actually been to what was it, top rank? He's actually boxing top rank before. Um, I think Weeks can survive the flare from Gary here, but I still think he loses the decision. I think Gary will be in a bit of a showcase spot here and get that decision.
Well, that's it. I've got to agree with you. I think this is the headliner on the prelims, and I think it's a fantastic spot for him to shine. On his last fight, he was on a pay per view as well against, and then he fought Jordan Williams, and the first round was a little bit tough for him. Maybe it might have been octagon, UFC jitters. He walked out with a blooded nose. If you're looking at that first few minutes, you might have thought the fight was going the other way, but all it takes is 2 seconds for him to win the fight. His striking is so crisp, so clean, and he just needs a few seconds to a few minutes to get it going. I feel like in this one, he's going to want to put on a better performance, a more cleaner performance. Just to maybe just override what happened in his debut on the early stages. But Darren Weeks, as you talk about, he's a fantastic opponent. Came in against Brian Barberena, made it competitive. But I just see Ian Gary just being better on the feet, and obviously being better all the way around as you're talking about. But I think Ian Gary's going to put on a good performance. He's got a good showcase to put it on, and I feel like we're going to really see the full potential of Ian Gary this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we'll move on to the next fight. It is not Rosenstruck versus Tybura. We just got word that Tybura is out with illness. I thought that would have been a short night for him. I thought Jardim was going to knock his head into the second row. And we'll move on to Aspen Ladd versus Raquel Pennington. This is a very interesting fight, in my opinion. Aspen Ladd, in her last fight, did not look like herself, was not aggressive at all, and it just didn't feel like it was a complete off night for her. She fought Norma Dumont in a 5-round main event, and it was at featherweight. So, a lot of things were off with her that night. Of course, there was the coaching controversy, which I thought was overblown. Aspen Ladd really looked terrible in that fight. And somehow I'm convincing myself to pick her in this spot. She's fighting Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington is in a very good form right now. She's on a 3-fight win streak. And if you look at those losses are absolutely nothing you should be ashamed about. Losses to Holly Holm, Jermaine Duranamy, Amanda Nunes, Holly Holm again, just got dropped. That's since 2014. So we're talking, people that have been in the title mix for a long time. And she's gotten some pretty high quality wins in that time. The big strength for Raquel Pennington is her clinch game. She loves to hold girls up against the fence, look for takedowns, but if she can't get them, she'll beat them up in the clinch. Her striking isn't bad either. She's got one of the only bulldog chokes in UFC history against Ashley Evans Smith. She's a well-rounded fighter, but not the most aggressive, I would say, at certain times. Aspen Ladd, on the other hand, was not aggressive in the last fight, but that was uncharacteristic. Historically, she's been pretty aggressive, man. She's always looked for takedowns. She's out-grappled Sijara Eubanks twice. That's definitely a statement there. She's very physically strong. She's got heavy hands. She knocked down Yana Kunitskaya in her fight and, pounded her out. That was really impressive. Aspen Ladd, when she's on, is a very good fighter. She was once undefeated, and she was a favorite to beat Jermaine Duranamy. But she had a very terrible weight cut. And one thing you could say this time around, she had a good weight cut. Did you look at her on the scales this morning?
She looked really good. She walked up, no towel, no complications, no shaking. She looked phenomenal.
Yeah, she looked calm out there. I've never seen it look better on the scale, quite honestly. She looks slimmer. I feel like she's got a renowned focus. I think Raquel Pennington, her takedown defense is not impressive. You're getting taken down by Marion Renault, of all people. Getting taken down by Pani Kianzad. I think Aspen Ladd is a much better wrestler than those women. I see her getting takedowns in at least 2 rounds of this fight. I think this will be a very close split decision, but at the end of the day, I think Aspen Ladd gets this done. And to see her as this big of an underdog, I think is an overreaction to her last fight, which was at a weight class that she doesn't fight at and on short notice.
Yeah, 100%. I've got to agree. This is a good fight for Aspen Ladd. As you were talking about, she looked good on the scale, and she looks disciplined. We've seen it in the past where she struggled with that weight cut. I think that when you move up to a weight class, it's a sign of I don't really want to cut weight. But she looked phenomenal. Stepping onto the scale this morning, and I feel like it's going to be the real difference maker. I think she's going to be. I feel like we're going to see the best performance we've seen of Aspen Ladd because the weight cut went smoothly. I feel like we're going to see a really good performance. Aspen Ladd is phenomenal. She's got. We've seen. When she knows how can skip sky. She's got. She's got heavy hands, and she's good. She's good at mixing up. Her boxing is crisp. But Raquel Pennington loves to make a fight dirty, and she's been around, man. She's fought so many. As you were talking about her wins, her losses, she's fought so many people, and that experience could play a factor. But I think the freshness, the young Aspen Ladd is going to be able to win this fight. But I don't see it being finished. I think Raquel Pennington is going to be able to hang in there, and I think Aspen Ladd is going to have a good night. I think she's going to get her hand raised, and I think it's going to be a unanimous decision.
All right, and we'll move on to Mickey Gall versus Mike Malott. I'm very excited for this fight. Mike Malott is a striking coach at Team Alpha. He's been fighting since the early 2010s, and I feel like an inactivity has really slowed down his career. You see, he doesn't even have 10 fights. The guy has more experience than that because he's been training in MMA for about a decade now, man. Mickey Gall, on the other hand, has less experience. And he's been trading wins and losses since 2016, ever since he beat Sage Northcutt. He's been trading wins and losses, and some of those losses don't exactly look good. He got knocked out by Diego Sanchez. That is not a good look at all in 2019. The Randy Brown loss isn't too bad. The Mike Perry loss. Mike Perry is a very solid name, but he's not exactly known for his grappling. He goes out there and dominates Mickey Gall on the ground. Mickey Gall is supposed to be known as this big submission threat. I think his submission, attacks are very overrated in my opinion. He's not going to be, a guy that's dominating the ranked fighters of the division. It's just not. It's not the case. And when he fought Jordan Williams, that was very impressive because he got the knockdown and then choked him out. That was very impressive. I'll give him that. But against Alex Morono, he was just a step behind in the striking and in the grappling in that fight. And I kind of feel it's going to be the same scenario here. Michael Malott is a good striker. Sure, he did get knocked out by Mean Hakeem Dawodu, but Dawodu is a Canadian Muay Thai champ. But besides that, he puts guys away in the first round in all of his wins, man. In all his wins, that's what he does. He puts them away, usually by striking, but he's got really good submission skills, man. Of course, he's out of alpha male, so he's got a really good guillotine, and he showed it on the Contender Series. 39 seconds it took him to beat a 7-0 prospect. Before that, he fought Solomon Renfro, who also fought on the Contender Series. Looked pretty good out there. I actually thought he got robbed on decision. First round, rear naked choke. He did get tagged in that fight, but he's shown really promising skills that he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Mickey Gall is also, but I actually think he's a better grappler than Mickey Gall. And striking, he's got more pop, but I think he's less durable. So it's going to be a very interesting fight because, as I said, Mike Malott, first round finisher. Mickey Gall is comfortably, down to 15 minutes before he will slow down, but yeah, this is a tough one to pick because Malott does not leave the first round, but I'll trust him just enough to win 2 rounds in this fight. And maybe he gets a submission here, but I say he gets a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. If you look at this fight, as you were talking about, Mickey Gall has always been up and down in the last few years. Diego Sanchez, losing to Mike Perry, and his last fight losing to Alex Morono. And as you were talking about, Malott, he's been not active, but active inside MMA training since 2010. He's fought in World Series of Fighting, so that shows you how long he's been around. Because World Series of Fighting hasn't been a promotion since I want to say 2015. It transitioned into now what we have is PFL. So it shows you how long he's been around. And although he hasn't been active inside MMA, you just know he's been working, grafting away. I feel like we're going to see a good performance of Greg debut against Malott I'm expecting big things. I've heard big things about him. I know him and his brother. His brother might be a hockey star, if I'm correct, in Canada.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one, but I believe so. Anyway, but yeah, I don't like this matchup for Mickey Gall. As you talked about, the submission threat of Mickey Gall has always been, talked about. But as you talked about, I don't really see it either. I just don't see, that big submission threat. And his gas tank as well. His gas tank is atrocious. I mean, he gasses out after I can't remember. It was against Diego Sanchez. He gassed out and. What was it after a round? And Mike Perry he gassed out, and I see the first round being tough for Malloy, but after that, I think he's going to take over. I think we're going to see a good debut and maybe a Canadian prospect, another one.
Yeah, I actually think Malott will not lose a round in this fight, assuming his gas tank has improved. I think he's the better striker in this fight. A lot of people just look at the name. They don't really know who Malott is. They'll just pick Mickey Gall because of the name. I think Malott is a better fighter than Mickey Gall, plain and simple. But it's just questions about the guessing on the two sides that makes this a little tricky. We'll move on to the early prelims. This is somehow on the early prelims. Former ranked fighter Alexei Oleinik is taking on Jared Vanderaa. This is a very, very close fight on paper. Alexei Oleinik, obviously, one of the best grapplers in the heavyweights division's history. The guy went out there against Fabricio Verdum and survived many submission attempts. Nobody's going to submit this guy, and he can submit almost anyone when it goes to the ground. He fought Sergey Spivak in his last fight, and Sergey Spivak couldn't take him down once. In fact, he took down Spivak, and he put him in that scarfold. I thought Spivak might have gotten saved by the round there. The guy has that old man strength. It's a real thing, man. And against Jared Vanderaa, I think he might get a takedown here and punish Vanderaa. Vanderaa is actually a black belt himself. We've not seen real evidence that he's great at defending submissions, but if he's a black belt, I'll just assume he's good enough to survive on the ground long enough and to tire out Oleinik, because Oleinik has about one round of cardio. After that, he gets super slow and lethargic, but against bad fighters, he can do well for himself. In that Spivak fight, Spivak is a really bad striker, and he was having some success there. Jared Vanderaa, on the other hand, he's not a heavy hitter, even though he's heavyweight. Not a heavy hitter. He's a volume guy at heavyweight, which I like this for Vanderaa, because assuming he survives that first round, he's obviously the quicker striker. Oleinik is 43, 44, I believe. He's going to be the quicker guy there. He's going to be the bigger guy. He weighed in at the heavyweight limit today. Oleinik, on the other hand, has fought as low as middleweight before. Lost to Chael Sonnen. I think Jared Vanderaa survives the early submission attempts, and then he just outstrikes Oleinik because Oleinik will be too tired to really get any offense going. So that's what I see here between Vanderaa and Oleinik. If you want an example of Oleinik just tiring out and being unable to get anything going, that against who was it? Let me get the name right here. Daniel Omel-Zierchuk. That was a majority decision. One of the judges scored a draw because Oleinik did so well in the first round, but after that, his cardio fell off a cliff. So that's what I see happening here. Oleinik, I love the guy, but he's just too old now, man. And Vanderaa will just beat him up in those later rounds. That's what I see happening.
This is a tough fight. In my opinion, I see obviously Alexei Oleinik has that advantage on the ground. Obviously, he has an advantage over anyone on the ground. He's as you talked about, he's submitted, hanging with the best in the world. Defended well off with Fabricio Verdum, and I'm not too sure on this one. I want to pick Alexei Oleinik, and I think that's what I'm going to go with. He's talked about old man strength, and I think he can really. So I think he can submit Jared Vanderaa, who's also not been on the best run of his career as of late. I think 2 back-to-back losses against Andrei Arlovsky and one that I can't think of off the top of my head. There we go. But if you look at Oleinik, who he's fought in his last few fights, it's been a tough run for him. If I quickly pull it up, here we go. Derek Lewis, Chris Dorcas, and Sergio Spivak. You know, that's a tough run. It's a tough loss. He's been around the block. The experience between these guys is ridiculous. Alexei Oleinik, he used to fight. What, his first fight was in like 1998, I believe. It was crazy. Hold on, I'll have a quick look. 1996 was his first fight in the mixed martial arts, and he's still fighting to this day. It's crazy. I think Alexei Oleinik is going to submit him. I have a true feeling. I have a belief. I think Alexei Oleinik is going to get it done. I think he's going to submit him, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gets his choke either. His the Oleinik choke, the Zico choke.
I'm rooting for Oleinik, but I'm not confident in his ability to submit Bandera here. We'll move on to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Josh Friend. Anthony Hernandez has not fought for a year. In his last fight, he fought the multi-time ADCC BJJ champion. He submitted him in that second round. He's a really good defensive grappler. He showed it in that fight. He had D1 wrestlers in his camp, BJJ black belts, and he knew exactly how to defend those tough positions. So come that second round, Vera was completely gassed. He hurts him with big strikes, big old head kick, and then eventually he gets that arm in guillotine, and his opponent is forced to tap. That was a really good performance, and he's had to deal with some injuries since then, and he was going to fight a tough matchup in this fight. It was going to be Albert Duraev, but Duraev had to pull out of the fight. In comes Josh Friend. If you remember the UFC's looking for a fight series they did in Missouri that one time where they were looking for the full-strength fighter, Josh Friend competed on that, and he looked great out there. There was a lot of good performances on that card, and he was one of the two picked. He's really tall for this weight class. He's 6'4" at at middleweight, and he got a knockdown. Then he choked his opponent unconscious. Josh Friend, one thing I'll respect about the guy, this always happens. Debuting fighters, they've only fought straight up cans. They fought guys with losing records. That's not the case. He's only fought guys with winning records. So that's really impressive. He did get knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez. He was actually a big favorite in that fight. He got knocked out. Anthony Hernandez does not have the power of Gregory Rodriguez, so I see Hernandez maybe getting a tough beating in that first round. If you guys me the better striker here, I will say it is Friend. But Hernandez is good at weathering storms, man. I think he'll put the pressure on Friend. And I feel like if he could submit Vera, he could submit pretty much anybody. So I'll straight up say I think he gets a second round. I'll say he gets a second round anaconda choke. I think Hernandez gets a second round submission here. I think he can get takedowns against Friend. Friend is coming in on short notice. I think he can submit it here.
I've got to agree with you. I see Anthony Hernandez, as you talked about, is that phenomenal submission win against Rodolfo Vieira. But he has been submitted in the past against Marcus Perez as well. We've seen that. Yeah. And then he got finished against Kevin Holland. But he has beat some really good guys. He beat Brendan Allen, had the no contest, but he won against Jordan Wright. Then Junior Park, yeah. I think he's going to submit him, man. Yeah, you're hyping him up. We know how good his submissions is. We've seen it against Vieira, against a fantastic ADCC submission threat, and he managed to pull it off. And that was the biggest. What was that? The submission of the year, I believe. Yeah, so I think Anthony Hernandez is going to get this one done. I think he's going to submit him. Maybe round two, maybe not round one. I think round one would be a filling out process. And then I think round two, he will get him.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. Friend, do not sleep on this guy. As I said, never fought a guy with a losing record. Hernandez is no different. Really good striker. If Hernandez cannot have grappling success here, Friend will win this decision. I'm just saying that, but I'm not going to doubt Hernandez's submission offense after that last fight. So we'll move on to Piera Rodriguez versus Kay Hansen. This fight was set to be at strawweight Hansen missed weight. 118 pounds she weighed in at. Yeah, she did not look good on the scales. Obviously had a hiccup in her wake up process. So anybody picking Kay Hansen, I think it might be time to switch over to Pierre Rodriguez. Pierre in the contender series, she was actually known as a striker coming in, and she gets takedowns in 2 of the rounds and gets good control time. So she's showing that she's more well rounded now. Her striking coach is Jason Park. Jason Park, best known for coaching Brian Ortega to the fighter he is now. Um, she's got a good team around her. I really believe she's the better striker in this fight. She has more power as well. And when it comes to grappling, Kay Hansen, sure, she submitted Jing Frey in the first round with an armbar, but Pierre Rodriguez has actually seen this type of opponent before. She's 7-0, former Invicta champion, and she fought this woman right here. Her name was Silvatana Gosic. She was 13-5. Invicta. It was the Invicta title fight, and if you look at her record, it's a bunch of first round armbars. So I don't believe she's as good as Kay Hansen is. Kay Hansen is 10th planet BJJ trained, but I got a feeling Pierre knows how to defend the submission that Hansen will be throwing up. Hansen in the last fight fought Jasmine Justinius cannot get any of those submissions. So I feel like if it goes to the ground, I think she can defend it on the feet. She'll be doing work here. And considering the bad weight cut, we could see Hansen slowing down and maybe we see some kind of ground pound finish. But because I'll tell you that the reason she got on the contender series is because she's a finisher. She got a 5th round TKO on Invicta to win her belt. For that, she was getting a lot of finishes, so she's very aggressive. I really like her in this spot. I think she wins the decision.
Yeah, if you look at her record, Kay Hansen's only been finished once, and that was in her second pro fight against Cal Schwartz, where she got ground and pounded. Rodriguez, as you were talking about, the submission threat, and Kay Hansen, missing weight. This one's quite a tough one to pick. The odds are quite close, and I've got to agree with that. But I'm with the weight miss and how she looked on the scale. It's not a great look, and that's why I'm siding with Rodriguez. I think I think Kay Hansen's going to gas out. I think that the weight miss and is going to play a big factor in this one. I feel like we're going to see her slow down significantly after the first round, and I think Rodriguez is going to start to take over and maybe even get a submission. I fancy a submission late.
Wow, that would be really something for Rodriguez. And we'll move on to the opener, which honestly don't think this should be the opener. I think this is a very exciting fight. Could be fight of the night. Julio Arce versus Daniel Willie Cat Santos. Daniel Santos is a monster. This guy trains with Charles Oliveira. He's always been in Charles Oliveira's corner constantly. He's been in those championship parades. So he's obviously gaining inspiration from that. The guy is he's a wild man. He throws a lot of spinning attacks. He's got a lot of power in his kicks and his hands. He's a Muay Thai specialist. The guy is, as I said, he's fought really good guys his whole career, honestly. He's only fought 3 fighters that had losing records. But besides that, he's fighting guys that are 11-3, 19-8, 8-0, 4-1, 7-1, and 7-1. So he's fighting quality competition, even though he's outside the UFC. And he's getting quick finishers. In his last fight, he got a first round armbar for that spinning back fist. The guy is really unpredictable. And Julio Arce, on the other hand, he's fallen on tough times. But it's nothing to be ashamed of when you're getting knocked out by Song Yudong, especially when that first round was even. That's the big factor here. Arce is not super durable, and not only that, this is at bantamweight. Arce has fought comfortably at featherweight before, so you got to imagine he can't take punches as well down at bantamweight. He got knocked out by Song Yudong, as I said. That's the only time he's gotten knocked out, but besides that, I really feel that he's the better striker here. As I said, if he does not get knocked out, I think he will be a little ahead of Santos. Santos, this is UFC debut, so of course he's gonna want to get some kind of crazy KO. He's gonna have those jitters. Arcee's been in the UFC for a while now, ever since he got that knockout in the Contender Series in 2017. He kicked off his UFC career by beating Dan Ige. Then he beat Daniel Tamor, beat Julian Erosa, beat Andre Ewell. I think some of those names I mentioned are better fighters than Santos. So I think Arce wins here, but don't be surprised if we see some kind of wheel kicker or some kind of crazy first round guillotine from Willicat Santos.
Well, yeah, Santos has landed a spinning back kick before. I'm not too sure if you've seen it, but if you look on YouTube, it's a phenomenal knockout. It's perfectly timed and put the lights out of his opponent. And definitely what we could see. It's definitely not out of the shadow realm. And Daniel Santos, as you were talking about, training partner of Charles Oliveira, been in his corner. So he's been around some. He's been around some incredible guys and sparring the likes of him, and that's going to make him a better fighter. And Julian Arce is, obviously you're talking about he's fought some great guys, lost to some fantastic guys, and if you listed some of the names he's fought, it's incredible. He's not been fed some easy fights inside the UFC in his UFC career. That could be the difference maker, because he's had that experience. He's fought these great guys, and this is Santos's debut inside the UFC, so there could be maybe some jitters, but we always see once in a blue moon there's always a star that shows up. Emerges. And I feel like there's something special about Daniel Santos. I feel like we might witness something special this weekend. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. I've got a feeling that we're going to see him put on a show, and I think Santos is going to get it done. But as you were talking about, Arce is moving down to Arce is moving down to bantamweight, and out of featherweight, he got knocked out against Jadong Sung, which, by the way, Jadong Sung hits like an absolute truck, so there's no shame in that. But Santos, this is a fantastic fight to kick off the evening. This is a really, really close matchup, and I'm going to root with Santos. I think he's going to get it done, and I feel like we're going to talk about him next week and think, what is the limit for this guy?
Yeah, I got a feeling I'll be voting on Crypto.com for this fight to be fight of the night, because the UFC is now giving out fan bonus out of the awards. That is right. The fans can now decide who gets compensated extra money, and it will all be on the Crypto.com website. You have 3 votes per card. You can choose anybody on the card. Winners, losers on the prelims or on the main card. And I just wanted to remind the people of that, because you get 5 figures in Bitcoin depending on your spot. So make sure to vote, guys, because seeing fighters get paid more is really cool to see. Especially if it's in Bitcoin, it might be worth more in 5 years. So you never know.
Yeah, that's a good little touch from the UFC. There's always been this talk about the UFC fight pay, and I think that's a good touch. It shows that they're trying to do something. They're gradually doing. They're doing it, professionally. They're doing it business wise, business smart. But yeah, it's going to improve. Things are going to improve. You just got to take time. But it's still a very, very new sport, and they're not trying to rush stuff. But yeah, let's go back to the UFC 273. We got a fantastic card this weekend. I can't wait. 2 title fights, and obviously the main event: Aljamain versus Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, this is going to be a very eventful card. As I said, three really big fights that everybody's excited for. If we see some kind of upset on this card, it will be a contender for upset of the year. We could see something crazy go down on this card. But either way, I think we're in for a super exciting night of fights. Yeah, make sure to tune in wherever you tune in, ESPN Plus here in the US. And it's going to be in front of fans in Jacksonville, Florida. This is where they had that empty arena pay-per-view, UFC 249, Ferguson versus Gaethje. Then they came back for UFC 261, Usman versus Masvidal. It's always a great card out there. I'm sure it's going to be an electric atmosphere. Make sure to enjoy these fights.
Yeah, I remember that UFC 249 pay-per-view. That was so eerie because you could hear every single shot in. It was in a big arena. You could hear everything, and then obviously witnessing Tony Ferguson just. It was not a good night if you were a Tony Ferguson fan.
Yeah, I think it's. I think we're gonna see a similar beating in Jan versus Sterling. If you ask me.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I can't wait for this card. This weekend is going to be phenomenal. Make sure you tune in UFC 273, as you talked about. If you're over in America, ESPN Plus, and if you're in the UK, BT Sport. So make sure you tune in next week where we get to talk about everything that happened, everything that transcripted this weekend. We will talk about next week. I presume we'll have a lot of talking points next week.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially if an upset happens. But I think we'll be discussing the Chimaev versus Covington matchup because Dana White said that's the next opponent for Chimaev if he gets past Gilbert during Gilbert's.
It's a big if, but we both agree that he does get past him, and we're gonna have to find out this Saturday. Guarantee one favorite might lose. This is the game that we're in. We're in a mixed martial arts. Something crazy might happen. Sterling might land a flying knee. Who knows?
Yeah, I got 2 underdogs picked on this card: Aspen Ladd and Marco Manson. Those are not bad bets, especially when both are the better wrestlers in the matchup.
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait for this pay-per-view this weekend. What is before we go? What is Silva slips for this weekend?
All right, so Silva slips. It's nothing original here, but Volkanovski to win by TKO or decision, parlayed with Jan to win by TKO or decision, parlayed with Chimaev to win inside the distance, and then the cherry on top is Tisha Torres by decision.
Yep, I've got them written down, and we'll revisit them next week, where we get to talk about it all. I can't wait. So make sure you tune in next week, where we get to talk about all the talking points. We get to talk about Hamza Chimaev, Gilbert Burns, Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan, and then obviously the main event, Volkanovski versus Chancellor and John the Korean Zombie. I can't wait. We've got such a great episode next week, and it hasn't even started yet. I can't even wait. So make sure you tune in next week at the same time. Be on Tuesday, though, hopefully, all going well. But thank you so much for joining me. From me and Oscar, a very goodbye, and we'll talk to you